What's going on, you all? It's Key Michel here, and welcome back to another episode of Vintage Glamour. So what's going on, everyone? I'm very happy to be back here with you all for another episode, and as I am recording this episode, today is August the 1st. So we are at the 8th month of the year. The 8th month of the year. And summer is definitely moving. It's definitely moving. And so I hope that you all are enjoying your summer. And if you haven't been enjoying your summer so far, we all still have time, right? And if you're living in America, I definitely encourage you all to enjoy your summertime because, they're stating that we may be going into lockdown again. I am unsure, right? But that is what they are stating. So if that is the case, I definitely hope that you all, find ways to enjoy your summer, spend time with your family and friends, right? And simply have some much needed fun. So with that being said, let's dive into this week's topic. So last week, I discussed lifestyle content. So I was discussing 20 ways that you all can protect your energy, right? And I honestly believe that episode is very, very important for the times that we are in right now. So if you did not listen to that episode, definitely after this episode, head back and listen to that episode because I know that you all will definitely be able to take away some major pointers from that episode. I know that for a fact. This week, we are going to be diving into our fashion content. And this week is going to be a little different because this is going to be a bit of a story time. I want to share some stories with you all. Actually, one story, because I think the story is probably going to be not only a great one, but it's going to be more than enough, right? I don't want you all to be drained with so many stories, right? Because I can say a lot. I am definitely a storyteller, so I'm like, all right, maybe I shouldn't state so many stories. I could just actually pick one to share with you all. But I want to share stories about my experiences of having different conversations with people in the thrift store. I was actually talking to someone, and they stated how they don't really talk to a lot of people at the thrift store. Like sometimes people may approach them and they don't engage back. But I was telling them that I always have conversations all the time with people in the thrift store, all the time. If I go thrifting, I always have conversations with other people at the thrift store. And side note, a disclaimer, y'all already know what I'm about to say. If you're hearing noises in the background, y'all already know. What am I about to say? I live in the city. I live in the city. So I'm sorry about it. Right now, I am not currently at a studio. You know what I mean? And I'm hoping that we can get that going as time goes on. But y'all already know what I'm about to say. I am in the city. I am in the smack right in the city, right? On a main street. So if you're hearing loud noises, I apologize. I really try to make sure that you all don't hear any city sounds, any sirens, any buses, anything like that. But I do live in the city, so I just want to put that out there. So with that being said, let's dive into this story. So I went thrifting on February 18th, which is the day before my birthday. And I was just feeling a weird vibe, you all. I was feeling this weird, I guess we can call it a birthday funk, right? And this birthday funk was coming around because I was turning 29 and I was just feeling really down. I was like, I'm not exactly where I thought I would be at 29 years old. And I was just being really hard on myself, you all. Just thinking, man, I really thought that I would be a lot farther at this point of my life. And I'm sure that many of you all that are listening right now can relate to that feeling of feeling, man, I thought I would be so much farther by now at whatever age or whatever point of your life that you're at, right? So that is what I was feeling, right? That's just what I was feeling. And I said to myself, you know what? Let me go into the thrift store to just, feel a little better. I think for a lot of us, thrifting, whether it's online or offline, can really be really therapeutic, right? So I said, let me go to the thrift store and just get my mind off of this, and just feel a lot better, right? I may actually also find some gems. So I went thrifting, and, I'm looking around, I'm looking at some purses, and this woman stops me and she's like, "Oh, I really love your hat. I love that hat that you're wearing." And I said, "Oh, thank you. I really, really appreciate it." And she's like, "Yeah, I really love animal print. I really love it. That's my thing, right?" And from that one compliment, her and I start to dive into this long conversation, right? And, I'm telling her, yeah, I'm really into resale fashion. That's actually the field that I'm in. And she's like, "Oh, wow. I am currently actually, starting my own resale fashion business as well. That is exactly what I'm striving to do." And she was in her 60s at this time. I forget exactly, whether it was early, mid, or late, but she's in her 60s. I think it was early. And she's like, "Yeah, I'm in my 60s and this is what I want to do. I'm really into fashion and as well. I really want to start my own resale fashion business along with my ministry." She was also in ministry at that point. And I was like, "Oh, wow." I'm like, this is crazy that, you're in this field as well. Like, I'm thinking this to myself, like, this is like really more than a coincidence, right? And I'm like, "Yeah, I just was, coming into the store to look around. My birthday is tomorrow and I was feeling like a little bit of a birthday funk. So I wanted to come in and look around." And she's like, "Oh, like, how old are you turning?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm turning 29 tomorrow." And she's like, "Oh, I remember, being in my 20s and, being around that time frame. I had my own fair share of ups and downs in my 20s." And she starts to tell me about when she was in her 20s. Not only was she a mother, but she was also a crack addict. And she was addicted to crack, heavily addicted to crack in her 20s. And, she said it was something that truly, truly, truly consumed her life. She couldn't go a day without it, She would smoke crack several times a day. It was something that was truly consuming her life. And she said it was one day where she said to herself, it was in her late 20s, early 30s, where she said to herself, "You know what? I can't continue to do this anymore. I have children that I have to raise. I have a whole life in front of me. I cannot continue to do this anymore. I have to stop doing this. I have to let this go." And she said one day she just thought about it and she said, "You know what? No, 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 no. I have to let this go and I'm going to just stop." And she said cold turkey, she just stopped. But she said next thing you know, temptation started to creep in. People from all over, family members, friends coming over to her house. "Hey, you want to do crack today? Hey, you want to do crack today?" She said it got to the point where cousins that she didn't even hear from started to come up to her and say, "Hey, hey, hey, you want to do crack today? You want to do crack? You want to do crack?" Serious, serious temptation from all over, right? And she said it was so hard to fight the temptations off at times, but she said she knew that she had a huge future ahead of her. She said she could feel it, and she just knew that. She knew that she had a huge future ahead of her. And she said, "If I continue to do this, it's going to be over for me. I have to stop smoking crack." And that is exactly what she did. And she went on to pursue a field in education. She went on to get her PhD. She went on to also be in ministry. She had a women's group and she was talking to women that were going through things in her life. And you could tell even by the way she was speaking, even before she told me that she was a speaker herself, right? I could just tell the way she was speaking and the way she was talking to me that she motivates people, for a living. That was something that she does, right? She said she had her own women's group where she talks to women that goes through their own substance abuse and going through their own things in their lives. And right now, she is currently working on her own resale fashion business. And she said to me, life is truly a journey, right? And, right now at your age, at 29, you have a vision for your life. And some people might not believe in your vision and they might not see what you see. And that's okay because they're not supposed to see what you see. That's your vision. That is not their vision. And you might be thinking, when is your time coming? When is my time coming, right? She said, "I used to have those feelings. I used to feel like that too. But your time will come. Your time will come, and keep putting in the work and keep pushing forward. And always remember that your time will come. And what captivated me the most was not only her story, right? But it was her zest for life, right? Her zest for life. She was like, I'm in my 60s and I want to start my own resale fashion business, but I also want to do my own podcast. I'm in the works of starting my own podcast. She's like, I have so many dreams and visions for my own life, even at this age, right? She's like, I want to enjoy my life. I want to do several different things. And I think that's what we all should be doing, right? And I honestly, you all, I can't even express you all how that story was what I needed to hear at that time. I needed to hear that story at that time. I thanked her. We exchanged information. It just was a great, great vibe. And I needed to hear that story at that time. I left the thrift store. I didn't even leave anything with any gems, you all. I left just with her words and with that message. That's what I left with. That's what I left the thrift store with. That's why I had to go into the store. That's why my intuition said, go into Goodwill. Go into Goodwill. Go into Goodwill. I didn't even buy anything, you all. Nothing. I didn't buy a thing. But I left with that story. I left with that story. And that story truly moved me. It really did. And I really needed to hear that at that point of my life. I really did. And, just that woman's ability, her ability to not only be vulnerable with me, right? Because vulnerability is truly strength. But for her ability to be vulnerable and for her ability to, share one of the darkest times in her life. Her being addicted to crack. She was telling me her being evicted. She was really getting into serious details. Serious details of that addiction. And just for her to be vulnerable and to share one of the darkest times in her life with a complete stranger. When I tell you that was humanity in the flesh, that was humanity in the flesh. And it's just like, honestly, that is one of the main reasons, you all, why I love this realm of fashion is the community aspect. The community aspect, you all. Every time I go into the thrift store, I always end up in a conversation with someone. Always. It doesn't even matter what race, these people are. All different races of people. I always end up in a conversation, right? But that story really stood out to me because it just was not only a powerful message, but I really needed to hear that message at that point in my life. I really did. And I kept thinking like, wow, my intuition kept telling me to go into the thrift store. And I'm thinking I'm going to go in for gems. And yeah, I went in for gems, but I got a different type of gem. I got a different type of gem. Wisdom, knowledge, and storytelling. And the power of vulnerability. And, what was amazing about her story is now at this point in her life, she's pursuing the same field that I'm pursuing right now. And I thought that was so beautiful, and she was just saying to me, you got to continue to push forward and continue to believe in yourself. You have to continue to push forward and believe in yourself. And, I share this story with you all, not only to remind you all of how vulnerability is strength, not only to remind you all about how community is powerful, how there's so much power in, being a part of a community, right? But I share this story to encourage you all to have conversations with other people when you go into the thrift store. If you're someone that struggles with social anxiety, right? And someone approaches you and they want to talk to you, right? try your best. And I know it can be difficult, but try your best to engage back, because I guarantee you will leave that store more than just with thrifted gems. You will leave that store with also knowledge and wisdom and storytelling and vulnerability. You will leave that store realizing how just having a simple conversation with someone can really, really impact your day and your life. So I encourage you all, I really do. I really, really, really do. I encourage you all. I know that, like I stated earlier on, we are still in this pandemic, and we're still in this, coronavirus world. But I was having that conversation with that woman with my mask on. We were having the conversation, and we were just talking back and forth. And I encourage you all. I really, really encourage you all, when you all go into the thrift store, to have conversations with other people. Have conversations. Whether you are a conversation starter, start a conversation with someone else. Or if you're not necessarily the conversation starter, and you would, rather have someone come up to you, if someone does come up to you, allow them to come up to you. Because you never know. Perhaps they have a message that you need to hear right now at this point of your life. Right? At this point of your life. So that story stood out to me. There are several other stories that I have. There have been times, where I went into the thrift store really, really thinking about, my resale fashion business, and someone will come up and compliment my outfit, and we start talking. I tell them about what I do, and they will give me a contact information for a friend that, does the same type of, has a resale fashion business that they own in the city of Boston, right? It's just interesting what happens just by having a conversation with somebody. Just a conversation with somebody. So I really, really encourage you all, anytime that you're in the thrift store, if someone sparks a conversation with you, talk to them. Get to know that person. Engage, right? Or if you're the conversation starter, I encourage you to spark up conversations with other people. Talk to them and engage. And I can guarantee that you will leave the thrift store with more than just thrifted gems, you all. You will leave the thrift store with more than just thrifted gems. So shout out to Nona. That is the woman that I met, and that's the woman that I was stating in the first story. I want to shout out to you, Nona. I want to let you know that story that you told me was powerful. And it was an amazing, amazing, amazing story that I needed to hear at that point of my life. And I know that you are going to go on and do amazing things, and that you're going to continue to impact a lot of people's lives along the way. I thank you and I appreciate you. I really do. So with that being said, you all, community, thank you so much for tuning into this episode of Vintage Glamour. Like I said, this is the 8th month of the year. I believe that August is definitely a month filled with abundance, right? Filled with abundance. So if your year hasn't been going the way you thought it was supposed to go, do not worry about it, because I honestly believe that August is going to be an amazing month for a lot of people. Right? So keep your head held high, you all. Keep those spirits high. Keep that vibration high. And keep pushing forward in life. And also, once again, if you're in the thrift store, spark a conversation or allow someone else to spark a conversation with you. Because I can guarantee that you will leave that thrift store with more than just thrifted gems. And with that being said, you all, thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Vintage Glamour. I hope you all tune in next week, and I also hope that you all have a great week and a productive week, and I will catch you all at another one. Bye now.